Thank you, Senator. Mr. Secretary, welcome. And I recognize what a huge undertaking it is to airlift every American out of Afghanistan and work to get some of our closest Afghan partners out of harm's way after 20 years of American presence and troops in Afghanistan. The United States government conducted the biggest airlift in our history, over 120,000 people, and I understand and want to thank all the people who were involved in that. That said, I really urge you to have the State Department surge more people to this process, to help the remaining Americans out of Afghanistan, to help others, legal permanent residents and others. Secretary, I have with me a list of a lot of the constituent cases that are in our office. I'm going to give it to you and your staff. If I could just get your commitment that you'll get back to us on these cases. Absolutely. Thank you. Because we've had your help. We have one case of a 2-year-old American citizen, and we've been working with you on that. We also have cases of about 15 legal permanent residents and a number of our close Afghan partners. And at this point, the system at the State Department and DHS is overwhelmed. We're just getting back form responses without any feedback as to the state of the case. So I really urge you to keep at that. I must say, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but as Senator Shaheen said, the level of hypocrisy in this room in this Congress is staggering. We should have more hearings on what happened in Afghanistan. Starting with the decision to divert huge amounts of U.S. troops and resources to Iraq in one of the biggest strategic blunders in modern American history, where it's a clear matter of record that Iran has been the biggest beneficiary of that decision. And let's fast forward now to the Trump administration. I did not oppose the decision of the Trump administration to open up negotiations with the Taliban. Everybody in this room, I suspect, recognized there was no military solution to this conflict, that there had to be a political solution. So I supported opening up that process. Mr. Secretary, isn't it a fact that the Trump administration asked the Pakistani government to release 3 top Taliban commanders as part of that process?
That's correct.
And one of them is the person who's now number 2, Baradar, right?
That's correct.
He's the person everybody saw in those photos in Kabul, right?
That's correct.
Right. And there was another senior commander released, and they began the discussions in Doha.
That's right.
They did not include the Afghan government, did they?
That's correct.
Right. And they, in fact, essentially pressured the Afghan government to release 5,000 Taliban fighters, right?
That's correct.
Many of those fighters involved in the attack on Kabul today, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's see what the negotiation was. Here was the negotiation. I supported the beginning of it. The United States will leave by a date certain, May of this year, right?
Correct.
You can't attack American forces, but you can attack Afghan forces with impunity, right?
That's correct.
That's right. And so we pick a date. We say to the Taliban, you can attack Afghan forces, and then we say, okay, now let's negotiate the future of Afghanistan. Isn't that the way it was set up when you walked in?
That's essentially correct, yes.
There's a saying in Afghanistan that foreigners have the watches, we have the time. And so the Trump administration, through those negotiations, set it up perfectly for the Taliban. Green light to attack the Afghan forces, no discussion going forward. And then isn't it true that the former president criticized President Biden for not pulling out our forces earlier?
I believe that's accurate.
I think he said, you got to stick to our May timetable. So President Trump, stick to our May timetable. And by the way, I'm handing you a negotiation where I've already said we're getting out. And I've said, go ahead and attack the Afghan forces. And now we're going to talk about the future. So that's the hand you've been dealt. Let me talk to you a little bit about the future. And I'm glad you brought together the ministerial meeting with our NATO partners, with surrounding countries. This will never work if the surrounding countries don't participate and others in the region. You had both Pakistan and India at the table, right?
That's right.
Okay. Now, I'm very much in the mode, and I know you are too, you watch what they do, not what they say, right?
Exactly.
The Taliban clearly have new PR people. They also recognize that there are actions they have to take in order to get any kind of support whatsoever from some of the Western countries, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So I've heard you testify today to some of those conditions. Free and safe passage for people who want to leave, right?
Right.
Okay. Access by international humanitarian organizations directly to the Afghan people, not through any Taliban government, right? Protection of girls, women, and minorities.
That's right.
This is going to be one, obviously, we have to keep a very close eye on. Fourth, you can't use the territory of Afghanistan as a base for future terrorist attacks, whether it's al-Qaeda or anybody else.
That's
right. And a more inclusive government, because right now we have a government comprised of Taliban, including 2 members of the Haqqani network, one of who's wanted for questioning and for violent activities. So my question to you is, that was a really important first step, because we want everybody on the same page, meaning our close partners and surrounding countries, right?
That's right.
All right. What do you have that buy-in from all the partners around the table that we will act in unison?
We do have that buy-in. We have that buy-in not only from the meetings we have that buy-in in the statements that many countries have signed on to. We have that in a UN Security Council resolution that we initiated. And critically, we have, moving forward, established an ongoing group of countries and institutions that are going to work together to track this, to continue to make sure we're speaking with one voice and acting in unison.
Got it.
Now, there are countries that may be outliers in this effort. Some of them have been referenced, to include China, to include Russia, to include Pakistan, and that's something we're being very, very vigilant about as well.
Well, I know time is up, but I would just, I think a number of those countries, at least Pakistan, like India, like the others, have an interest in preventing chaos and civil war in Afghanistan. And obviously, we asked them to release prisoners that they had locked up, Taliban prisoners. Obviously, we have to keep an eye on the ISI. We get that, but let's all work together to achieve the goal of a stable Afghanistan that protects the rights of its people. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.